Welcome to Top 5, a show where we count things down from number 5 all the way to number 1. This time around, I scream, you scream, we all scream because we're tired of 2020 already. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We all scream
this
because
week,
of the existential terror of existence.
This week, Top 5 ice cream flavors, ice creams is what the suggestion was over in our Major Spoilers Discord. A lot of people hanging out there sharing their top 5s over there. So top 5 ice cream, Matthew, what do you got for your number 5?
I feel like we've touched on something like
this
before.
We may have done something like this before, but there is not an ice cream listed as any of the top 5 subjects we've ever done.
Which is fine, because my number 5 is, in the strictest sense, not actually ice cream.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Shut up. Shut up. You know what? It was 8 years ago. It was one cookie. Get over yourself. No, my number 5 is actually what was called an ice milk, which is what you get when you are either overweight as a child or come from a family that doesn't like to spend money. I was both. Ice milk is basically ice cream with less cream in it. So I'm like, I can't do a sherbet, but I could do an ice milk. And when I was a kid, we had one thing that we could get that was a frozen, what they call the quiescent treat, the ice cream. And it was cherry nut ice milk. And I'm not sure if this was something that my grandparents liked it, and that's what was in the house, or it had the lowest sugar, or it was the cheapest, or it was the kind they had the most of.
I think it's the cheapest. That's what my parents did too. If we ever had ice cream, it was either the kind you make from the snow that wasn't yellow, or the really cheap stuff that said, in the white container with the black letters that said ice milk. Yeah.
Right. Oh, you got the non-yellow snow. Luxury. When I was a boy, we lived in cardboard box on the side of the road, but we ate the cherry nut. And the thing about a cherry nut, specifically the IGA brand white box black letter, actually it may have been a yellow box now that I think of it, was the fact that it had the crunchy like walnuts in it, but it also had hunks that seemed to be actual fruit, like little pieces of cherry in it. So you would be getting the ice cream, but then you'd have some textural thing, you'd have some chewiness, and then you'd have some crunchiness. It was really, really good. And you can't buy this stuff anymore. At least you can't buy it at the Dillons in Topeka, Kansas, because I've looked. You can get things that purport to be similar or are kind of the same thing, but it's never quite the same. It's kind of like every once in a while, I have a self-destructive urge and I get the pizza that we had in my childhood, which is, a Red Baron frozen supreme, throw it in the oven, eat it. It's like cardboard with mozzarella on top, but it reminds me of my youth. And that's why I feel like if I could still find the cherry nut ice milk, I would probably still buy it. And I think that perhaps for the first time in my adult life, or at least in the past 16 years, my ice cream would not immediately disappear into the face of the child. So I think that may be a point to trying to find it anyway, is that I might actually get some this time.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything that says ice milk. I see a lot of ice creams, but I don't see any listings for ice milk. So when
Do they have like a cherry walnut?
Walnut?
They just upgraded all of them to ice cream.
They could.
And they could
I
have.
don't know. I never see the term ice milk anymore. So it may be, it may be an 80s thing that doesn't happen anymore.
It's funny that you reminded me, because all the stuff I remember was white with the black letters, but then you said yellow, and no, there were the other, store brand or whatever generic brand was the yellow kind.
The other generics, the black and yellow.
Yeah, the black and yellow. So don't see any of that listed anywhere, but if anybody has a handle on some cherry walnut ice milk, generic style, reach out to us, and we'll make something happen.
Just stick it in the mail and send it to Major.
What could
None
happen?
of that name brand nonsense.
No name brand nonsense. No.
But we don't need none of those labels.
Speaking of name brand nonsense, my number 5, I was not, as I kind of alluded to a moment ago, privy to a lot of the ice creams growing up, especially all those fancy flavored ice creams. So when it was when I was in college, maybe a little bit after college, that I discovered this company called Ben and Jerry's Ice Cream. These two hippie dudes apparently making ice cream up there in the backwoods and shipping it out to people, and people going crazy for it. And so one day I traveled down the frozen food section, also called the novelty section of my local grocery store. And I said, oh, there's some Ben and Jerry's. Let me see what's there. And the first one that caught my eye, ouch, was Ben & Jerry's Chunky Monkey. Banana ice cream with fudge chunks and walnuts. And I was like, okay, it's a little expensive. It's a little bit, I can see why we never had any of this stuff growing up. I will buy the smallest container that they had. Went home, and about 15 minutes later, I was like, wow, I can't believe I ate the whole thing. But I do enjoy that Chunky Monkey ice cream. There's something about it that tastes good. Although I'm not a big fan, and I'm not a big dessert fan to begin with. But I am not a big fan of overly frozen hard things like, bananas tend to not turn into, hammers that you can nail a nail with in ice cream. But for some reason, chocolate, big chunks of chocolate, get a little bit too hard for me to chew. Same way with walnuts when they get too frozen. So this is why Chunky Monkey is on my number 5 position. Still very good ice cream. Still enjoy it quite a bit. But there you go. It's at my number 5.
It's like you need to eat it right after you bring it from the store. Like you need to let it cool or like warm up on the car ride, and then it's perfect.
Exactly. Gotta put it in the microwave for a couple minutes. Rodrigo, what do you have for your number 5?
No. You can taste the microwaves in it then, and it tastes.
I know it tastes like bliss. Tastes like vibration.
Like radiation.
Yeah. Rodrigo, what do you have for number 5?
My number 5 is coffee ice cream, and it's pretty much the only way that I ever consume coffee. I really don't like coffee, and I didn't realize that for a long time. I would, when I was, a teenager, I'd be like, oh, I'll have some coffee because I was allowed to at that point, and then I would proceed to just empty an entire thing of sugar and milk into it, and eventually I realized it's like, oh, it's because I don't like the taste of coffee.
Yep.
But I like how coffee smells, and I like other things that are made from coffee, and usually coffee ice cream has that hint of bitterness, it has that flavor, but it doesn't have that, like, I don't know, that like bitter kick at the end, right? It's like when I drink coffee, it's like, this is pleasant, and then like after there's no more coffee in my mouth is like, but this tastes like a battery, I don't know why. I just don't like it. But coffee ice cream, very pleasant. I like it almost as much as coffee cake.
There you go.
Nice.
There was a guy Matthew and I knew in college who just loved coffee. It was like, oh yes, black coffee. Got to have me some black coffee. And then he'd pour like a half a cup of black coffee, and then proceed to just dump in like half a cup of sugar. And he's like, I love black coffee. It's the best. And it's like, you got a lot of sugar in there. Yeah, but it's still black coffee. It's like, I don't think that's black coffee.
It is. No.
Yeah. So anyway, Matthew, what do you have for your number 5 ice cream?
Well,
is it a sherbet?
We already did my number 5.
I'm sorry, you're number 4.
Yeah, numbers are hard.
Is it a sherbet?
No. Are you threatening me? What's wrong with you? No. My number 4. Number 4 is generally the slot where I have the one weirdo, strange thing. Not necessarily. Number 5 is the one that doesn't fit the category at all. Number 4 is where we get the weird thing. And because I have a teenager, I have access to a lot of weird things. I don't know why this is. Kids today, capital K, capital T, are into some weird stuff, comparatively speaking to my upbringing in the Midwest in the 80s. So at our grocery store, they actually have, and this is weird because it's not with the frozen foods. It's not with the ice cream. It's nowhere near. It's actually over by the fish and the bread. There's this little cooler, and the name on the cooler says Mimo, and I don't know what that is.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm.
They have the mochi.
These are delicious.
Ice cream
Mochi
bar.
ice creams are the best. Mochi ice creams are actually in my list, too.
Yeah, the mochi ice cream, specifically the flavor that she loves, that I actually like because, just kind of by extension, green tea, mochi ice cream. Now, a mochi is a kind of a rice cake sort of feeling. So it's a ball of ice cream.
It's wrapped in a dough.
Inside of the mochi, the rice dough. So you can take it and you can eat it with your hand and eat ice cream with your hands. And then the outside is kind of powdered sugar. But
I
I'm
think
not
it's
necessarily
flour.
a green tea guy. But man, the green tea flavor is really good.
Yeah.
It's got
Mochi
this earthiness to it. That's
Mochi
so
is my number 3. It's really good. I didn't know anything about it until my wife, it showed up in our freezer, and I was like, well, what is this? And she goes, oh, it's mochi. You should try it. And I'm like, I'm not a big dessert person. And I think the ones that we had at the time were the mint, the chocolate, and the strawberry. And I think there was one more, a mango one, and I don't like mangoes.
mangoes the dough.
And so, it took a while, but finally I was like, okay, let me try one of these. And I just, oh my gosh, this was so good. And I just happened to have the last one that was there. And I was like, well, let me run to the store and buy a whole bunch for you. And this was at a time where it was very hard to find a lot of the mochi ice creams. I follow Mochi on Twitter, and occasionally I will tweet at them about how much I love the mochis. But yeah, it's really good. And if you can find them, definitely grab a hold of some. It is a different experience. This is another one that I think needs to warm up a little bit. Because, especially if you're someone who has a teeth sensitivity, because you'll bite into it and you'll be like, oh, this doughy part is so good. And then you'll hit the ice cream and go,
it'll just shoot lightning up through your jawbone.
Yeah. So I think this is when you kind of have to let sit for a little bit and let it warm up a little bit. You could set it out as you're eating in your last course of your meal so that by the time you're ready for the dessert, it's right there.
So you've actually gotten them home. Is what you're saying.
Oh yeah. These are good. These are really good.
Have.
Yeah. The only problem is there's not enough in a box, and they are a tad expensive. But I still like them. It's been a while since we've had
box. This is like they have like the bucket, and it's a self-serve where you get your little packet and you scoop up a couple 3.
Yeah. No, you need to look at the frozen food section again. It's in the novelties section. And
I don't want to go over there. It's all scary and cold.
No, it's good. But I think their Twitter is Memochi. But yeah, you need to find it. It comes My Mochi. But it just comes in a little box. And I think there's like 9 in a box, something like that. Definitely.
I like the artisanal ones you can get. You can sit like near a lobster and feel like you're hoity-toity as you're loading up your box of mochi.
It's My Mochi ice cream is the one that I like.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah, definitely good stuff. So that is my number 3. But I have not had the tea, so it just doesn't sound like a good.
Green tea is actually really good.
It doesn't sound like a good one, but
you might like it more than you think, especially with your love of the what is that weird iced tea that you drink?
The Thai iced tea?
The Thai iced tea,
it's not weird.
It has some similar notes to it.
Okay. All right.
Hey, man, I can call it weird all I want. I don't drink it.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe you should.
Maybe I should, but I don't like it.
Also, Mimo, the mochi ice cream, they do have non-dairy and vegan flavors, too, which is probably why your daughter likes it.
Yeah, and I think that may be the kind that we're getting.
Yeah. Yummy. Okay, my number 4 is also kind of falls into the Chunky Monkey category. This time, though, it's Breyer's ice cream. I know, not the greatest ice cream in the world, but it's the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup Breyer's ice cream, where they take these little mini peanut butter cups and chop them up and throw them in the ice cream and mix it up real good. Again, it's same problem as the chocolate and the Chunky Monkey and the Mochi. They kind of have to warm up just a little bit so you get a nice blend of the, I think it's the vanilla with the peanut butter and the chocolate. And ooh, it is so good. That is one that if someone were to offer it to me, I would definitely take it over Chunky Monkey. But if you got me some Mimo Mochi, I will take that over the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, definitely good, and in ice cream, definitely better. Of course, my doctor this week was like, maybe I ought to lay off the Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. And I was like, well, Easter's over, so the Reese's Peanut Butter eggs are gone. But again, I'm not a big dessert fan, so ice cream Reese's Peanut Butter Cup falling into our freezer anytime soon, probably fairly low. Rodrigo, what do you have for number 4?
My number 4 is just regular vanilla ice cream.
Okay.
I think on this show, people have probably heard me go off about vanilla and about how it's actually both a pretty interesting flavor and also a pretty interesting plant, historically
sure.
and as
Yep.
far as its properties. And I think obviously because so many things have vanilla as a potential flavor,
Mm-hmm.
vanilla is generally seen as the generic flavor.
Right.
To the point where the two terms are interchangeable, right? They'll be like, "Oh, did you get the Xbox One X Series X?" Is like, "Oh no, I just got the vanilla Xbox One X." Right? So I think I really enjoy vanilla ice cream by itself. Obviously, it goes great on other things because kind of for the same reason that I don't like coffee, I like vanilla is because it has a pleasant aftertaste. The first hit, usually almost any ice cream that you eat, the first thing that you're going to get is just all the sugar that it has.
Yeah.
But afterwards, it's kind of about that aftertaste, and vanilla has a pleasant kind of smoky aftertaste. That is good, assuming that it's a mid-tier and above vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, you
right?
don't want to end up with ice milk because
if you just go to the store and buy one of those like clear plastic buckets of vanilla ice cream, chances are you really are just eating sugar milk.
Yeah.
With not a lot of vanilla flavor, right?
Yep.
If you really want that vanilla flavor, you can get like the French vanilla or vanilla bean stuff, but I don't like my vanilla ice cream to be chunky. I don't want pieces of vanilla or whatever in there. So usually I just go for a mid-tier and above vanilla ice cream, and that's just good enough.
Vanilla happens to be my number one.
Whoa.
Yeah, and for the most of the same reasons that you cited, Rodrigo, I think you do need to have a good vanilla, not a cheap vanilla. And really, Breyer's kind of is that midpoint up from there. But the reason why I have vanilla as number one is because it is like the base for all other ice cream treats, right? So if you're having a banana split, you got to have vanilla. If you're having apple pie, you got to have vanilla. If you're going to have, a lot of other things, vanilla is kind of that go-to flavor that kind of is the flavor binding for all other ice creams that you're going to have or desserts that you're going to have. And so vanilla, my number one. I just like it. I know it seems very plain, and I know people are like, well, that's not very inventive or that's not very, exciting. It doesn't have to be exciting. It's cool. It's creamy. It tastes good with other things, and it's a great way to cap off a meal. So vanilla, my number one. Can't go wrong with vanilla. Okay. Let us hit, what are we at? Number three, Matthew?
We're at my number three. I think you guys are done.
Yeah, I'm pretty much done. I've got one more. Matthew, what do you have for your number three?
My number three, and I find it interesting how defensive you guys are about the vanilla. It's weird.
I'm not defensive about it. It's good.
You're like, you think the vanilla is bad?
No. This is what other people say. That's what I mean. All the threats that come in when you say, "Oh, I like vanilla ice cream," and people just give you that weird look, and they're just like, "Wouldn't you rather have the monkey brain flavored? That one is the one that is so high class, and that's what everyone's eating. How can you not want to eat the disgusting ice cream of the moment?"
There's a scene in one of the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs movies where it starts raining food, and there's like a huge thing that is basically one whole like neighborhood gets turned into a giant Napolitan ice cream. And there's like 1,000 kids in the chocolate one, like 8 kids in the vanilla one, and just like 1 kid in the strawberry one, which is absolutely 100% the reverse of how I feel about Napolitan ice cream.
I see. All right, Matthew, what do you have for number three?
My number three is, I think, the only one that has a name brand in my list because it's a specific company's actual brand. It is the Ben & Jerry brand.
Yeah.
Your chocolate fudge brownie.
Yeah.
And part of the reason for that is because of the way that they mix it. Sometimes when you have, I'm not a big fan of mix-ins. Like if you go to Stone Cold Creamery, because that's the bottom line, and you go there and they're like, we're going to take this cake and some chocolate and some sprinkles and a clock and I don't know, a copy of the Declaration of Independence. We're all going to smash it into your effing ice cream. I'm like, I don't want all that. I mean, yes, it's good if there's ice cream with bits in it, like the chocolate fudge brownie, because you can go and it's like, oh, it's got brownie. It's got like a ribbon of the dark chocolate and the fudgy fudge. But the brownie in there is actually a really good brownie. It's not just like some, run of the mill fly by night, something you use for a brake lining. It's a really, really nice brownie and it's in the fudge. And if you can get them, I actually recommend getting their pint rounds where instead of a cup or like a bucket, they come in little rounds. So it's like they've taken the pint, sliced it into 3 hunks of ice cream, dipped those hunks in like an outer shell, like a candy bar, and then you have a single serving ice cream portion that's appropriate. And you can be like, okay, I can eat 3 of these and I'm fine. But you really, really have to appreciate the amount of artistry in the Ben & Jerry's chocolate fudge because it has 3 different textures, but they're all chocolate. But they're different enough chocolate that you can tell the difference between the 3 strains of chocolate. The dark ice cream and the regular ice cream and the brownie itself are all different flavors and different textures that kind of build on each other. So it's, the best experience of chocolate combined with an even more interesting experience of chocolate combined with a freaking brownie. You have to love that. And I'm a big fan of chocolate. I'm generally not like a death by chocolate person where it's chocolate, 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 and chocolate.
Yeah.
Attorneys at law. But for some reason, the chocolate fudge brownie, the Ben & Jerry specifically, is so good. I will eat that all day long. In fact, I'm going to go have some right now.
Nice. Well, maybe wait till the show's over. Rodrigo, what do you have for number 3?
So my number 3 is probably where I start to deviate from maybe the assignment because a huge part of my life, or at least a very significant part of my life, was spent in Mexico. And in Mexico, you usually, if you say, well, how do you say ice cream in Spanish, or at least in Mexico, it's helado. But when you say helado, which just means frozen, when you go to get it at the shop, or when you go get it from a guy who's like has an ice cream bicycle, you know what I'm talking about? They will ask you, do you want cream frozen or do you want water frozen? Right? So one type has milk, one type doesn't have milk. And usually the non-milk ones are made of fresh fruit or fruit. Right. Or fruit flavoring, depending on what's in season and what's cheap. So my number 3 is technically mango ice cream, but most likely it's going to be a sherbet or something like that, a sorbet, which is really funny because if you tell someone it's like I'd like a sorbet, it sounds really fancy, but living in Mexico is like literally the easiest thing to find are sorbets. They're just, made out of normal, like fruit that seems normal around those places. Like, oh, here's something made out of mamey. Most people in the United States literally don't know what that fruit is. But anyway, my number 3 is mango ice cream. I've had it a lot. I seek it out here in the US. It's harder to find. I've had cream-based mango ice cream, and that's fine, but it's weird. It really feels much more like vanilla ice cream with like a hint of mango than actual mango, turned into, candy ice, which is what I want.
You should try the mango my mochis.
Mango.
Funny you say that. I ended up spending a large amount of time recently out and about because I had to take my dog to the doctor. and had to wait for a thing for a long time. And there was an Asian supermarket pretty much right next door to the vets. And I was like, all right, well, I need something to eat. So I just got a giant bag of not frozen, but just regular mango mochi candy. So I just sat there and it took forever. So I just ate the whole bag. And I was like, oh, I can't believe I just ate this whole bag.
They were all out of peach rings.
Yep.
All right. I think we are now up to our number 2s.
Yes.
And Matthew, what do you have for number 2?
My number 2 is actually a flavor profile that I really, really love. And I've loved since I was a kid. And I have to cough. But I don't have a cough switch right now. I apologize for the inconvenience. My number 2 is actually a flavor profile that I've loved ever since I was a kid. And it's one of those, again, that I can't always find. Not necessarily because it's weird, but I think because it's somehow proprietary. But you can now go to the store near me and you can actually buy orange creamsicle ice cream, which is a combination of orange and vanilla flavors.
Yeah, my kids love that.
Which I think, yeah, it's one of the perfect flavor combinations because you get that vanilla base. For me, and I'm not, casting asparagus at either of your ice cream. For me, vanilla is really a vehicle for things. Vanilla is like what I'm using to carry my hot fudge sundae, or vanilla is something there to serve as kind of, just that almost neutral taste and texture. So then you can put something wacky with it, like, orange or banana. A lot of times when I go to the local custard place, we have one of those hoity-toity places where you can be like, "Ew, I like a chocolate custard and I'd like you to put all these things in it." I almost never get the vanilla custard. But if you mix it with orange, I will buy vanilla all day long. I will pick up vanilla orange or creamsicle flavor even above chocolate. And as far as I'm concerned, chocolate is one of the 4 food groups. It goes chocolate, pizza, hamburgers, and that crap that they put inside of a Twinkie. Those are the 4 food groups. And if you have a creamsicle, that's like the 5th food group, which is kind of like the 5th beetle, which means you don't make a lot of money, but it does make number 2 on a lot of lists. Like my number 2, creamsicle orange vanilla flavor ice cream.
There you go.
Can I ask you guys a question? Sorry, I get to
No,
derail this a little bit.
No,
I have a theory. Let me ask you guys a question.
Hit me.
Matthew.
Yes.
Do you have a strong opinion either way about Miracle Whip versus mayonnaise?
Not really.
Okay.
No.
Steven, do you have a strong opinion either way about Miracle Whip versus mayonnaise?
Not really. I mean, I'm not a big Miracle Whip fan, and I use mayonnaise sparingly.
Okay. Because I kind of have this theory that vanilla ice cream is kind of like the mayonnaise of desserts. It's like, what do I put on a sandwich to basically make it creamier and basically increase that fat flavor,
right?
It's like you put mayonnaise on it. So I'm like, well, maybe Steven and I being opinionated about vanilla ice cream translates to us being opinionated about basically the salty version. But apparently it doesn't. I'm very opinionated. I hate Miracle Whip, and I really like mayonnaise.
Yeah. I don't use Miracle Whip mayonnaise. If I'm going to use mayonnaise, I use the Hellmann's.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, mayonnaise by itself, I'll put mayonnaise on a sandwich, but I've got to put something else with it too, like spicy mustard or something.
Listeners, ask yourself that question. It's like, do you care? If you don't care about vanilla ice cream, do you care about mayonnaise and mayonnaise-like things?
There is one caveat. I don't care about mayonnaise, but when I have to buy mayonnaise, I always get mayonnaise kind made with eggs or avocados, because the primary use of mayonnaise in my house is on the outside of a grilled cheese sandwich to make it nice and salty and crunchy and crispy. We don't butter them; we mayonnaise them.
So you cook it with the mayonnaise,
right?
So you need that
eggy base. You need the egg or an avocado oil in there to get the proper crispiness. So that really is the primary use that we have for the stuff.
So for Matthew, is a grilled cheese sandwich is like salty French toast? It's too far down this rabbit hole. Let's just get back to that.
Yeah, maybe we should discuss something more relevant, like do you return your shopping cart to the shopping cart trolley, or do you just leave it out there in the middle of the parking lot like a monster?
Like a barbarian?
I don't. But I have a kid And I'm like,
You
kid,
have failed as a
put the
parent.
card away.
Well, as long as someone
the
in
card
your
away.
household does it.
Right.
Oh,
I don't.
so
I don't
Matthew
do
doesn't
anything
do
in
it.
my household.
He wouldn't
But
do
I
it if
have
he
it
had
done.
to. If someone else is
No, I
there, you would
would.
make them do it.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing.
Okay.
I don't do things alone. There is always someone, and I have them do it for me. It's like a Pride of Lions, where there's that one old fat lion who's like the giant lion, and
Blind
the
and
lionesses
needs
go
help,
around
and
and collect all the
they're just
food.
waiting for
And
him to
the old
die.
fat lion just sits there on the rock, and then the lionesses do all the work. That's my house.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I have lionesses, and I'm just the old fat lion, and my job is to sit there and, if something comes in, to attack it.
To just let it happen and say.
I just have this image of a lioness like dragging back like a whole giraffe carcass past this like big old lion who's like, "Hey there, working hard or hardly working, huh?"
If you've ever wondered what my house is like,
Why don't
friends,
you cut me off a piece of that giraffe so I can eat?
Yeah.
Also, if you could pre-chew it for me.
Part.
Yeah. Anyway, back to ice cream.
Don't put mayonnaise on that giraffe. What are you on? Like an ibex? Come on.
My number 2, we are at number 2, is chocolate. Chocolate ice cream. Chocolate is good. If you can't have vanilla, you might as well go with chocolate. And there are so many different types of chocolate that you can have. You could have a dark chocolate. You could have a mint chocolate. You could have all sorts of different flavored chocolates. But just if it says chocolate on the outside, I'll probably be okay with that. I'll look around first for some vanilla, but chocolate, definitely a good number 2.
There's so much wrong with everything you've just said.
What?
Okay, first of all, various shades of chocolate. No, mint chocolate is completely different from chocolate.
It's chocolate.
They are not even vaguely
Dark
similar.
Dark chocolate is also chocolate.
No.
Yes.
And here's the thing. Okay, I want to ask you a question. Is Tony Stark the same as Diana Prince?
No, because one is over at Marvel and one is over there at DC.
Iron Man, Wonder Woman, they're exactly the same because they have the name, right? No, they're not.
Hey, what is your problem, dude? I think you need to like chill out and relax and just unwind, man. Maybe have some chocolate ice cream because chocolate ice cream is good. Man, you are too wound up over someone saying that they enjoy chocolate ice cream.
Mint. I do feel like mint chocolate chip is mostly mint. It's like mint ice cream.
Yeah, but you get that
right?
you get
With,
that
like,
chocolate taste. You get that chocolate taste in there with it, and that's good. If you can get a chocolate chip ice cream, you get the chocolate there. If you notice, Chunky Monkey has the chocolate in it. The Reese's Peanut Butter Cups has chocolate in it. The chocolate mochis are not bad, and then we just get to chocolate ice cream, that brown bowl of goodness that you can top with anything that you want. So chocolate ice cream. Calm down there, Matthew. Chocolate ice cream. You're a little bit. Too much caffeine, too much stress, something.
Too much coffee ice cream.
Too much coffee ice cream. That's my number 2.
On ice cream. That's what it is.
Rodrigo, what do you have for number 2?
My number 2 is as foreshadowed by my Napolitan comments, is strawberry. I do like strawberry ice cream. I like strawberry ice cream that has strawberries in it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think that's actually kind of rare, even if you go to like a fancy place, like an actual ice cream parlor. You're probably going to get a like kind of homogeneous, smooth strawberry ice cream, which might be very good. But it's not common to find strawberry ice cream that has like pieces of strawberry in it. That's the kind I prefer, but I like strawberry ice cream in general. There's kind of something about it I think it's just sweeter. Like there's something about that strawberry flavor that just like really brings out the sugar. It's like if you have vanilla ice cream, it's like here's a lot of sugar and then there's this aftertaste. But like with that strawberry flavor is like here's the sugar and the aftertaste is sugar. Maybe with like a little bit of tanginess from the strawberry, but not much. It's mostly sugar. So that's probably why I like it. I think it's just about the sweetest ice cream that you can have. It's like when you eat chocolate ice cream, there's that at least a hint of that bitterness from the chocolate. But with strawberry, there just isn't that. It's just like you look across the flavor spectrum and it's just sweet.
Yeah.
Like written over it with like a big red crayon.
Yeah.
Point.
Yeah. All right. We are done with number 2s. Now we are at our number 1s. And Matthew, what do you have for number 1?
My number 1, I believe, is the finest ice cream in the known universe. And I firmly believe this because, as we've noted, I have a thing not just about the ice cream itself, but about the texture. I like something that has textural variances and differences to it. Not like a creepy way. Not like you're eating soup and all of a sudden there's a weird piece of cheese in it. But I really like, and my number 1 is a nice bowl of Rocky Road. Because you have that chocolate base, but you also have marshmallow, which is kind of, squishy and has a little bit of stretch to it. And also, like, I think they're almonds, some sort of nuts in there anyway, for a crunch factor. So you can get in each bite different textures and kind of a different flavor thing going on. You get some crunchy. And if you can actually combine Rocky Road with another complementary, kind of like a chocolate something, or I don't know. I usually go to 31 flavors and I'm like, give me a scoop of Rocky Road and whatever your Captain America Avengers movie nonsense is, because you can get, something different. I don't necessarily like the Rocky Road if it has too much almond in it. But as the only person in my house who will actually eat an ice cream with almonds regularly, it's also a good way to have my ice cream. Because sometimes you go and you buy something, you put it in the freezer, you're like, oh, I'll eat that later. It's gone, man. It's gone. I think they fed it to the giraffe. But my number 1, a nice, texturally perfect, not too many nuts, not too much of the squishy. You don't want like a s'mores thing going on with the marshmallow. You can't have as much marshmallow as you have chocolate.
What all is in Rocky Road?
You got your chocolate,
chocolate ice cream,
marshmallows, and then some kind of nut.
Okay. I think almond, but you also occasionally you'll get a Rocky Road that has like walnuts in it. There's some that have 2 different kinds of nuts. I don't know. Personally, I don't care.
And Rocky Road is something that you can find different places, right? It's not a name brand like Chunky Monkey.
No, you can.
Chunky Monkey's a Ben and Jerry's thing.
No, you can find Rocky Road pretty much anywhere. Originally, the original nut, and this is why I was like almonds. The original nut was walnuts.
Walnuts.
Yeah, and then replaced later with the almonds.
Yeah. I'm always interested in stuff like Rocky Road because a lot of the time Americans are like, well, there's no American food, but it's like I feel like Rocky Road ice cream is American folk food.
Right.
Just like it's like somebody was telling me the other day about puppy chow, which is like Chex Mix with like cocoa powder or something like that.
Cocoa powder and sugar, like powdered
sugar and a chocolate base.
Yeah, and I'm like, see, there it is. Like Rocky Road and puppy chow are like the American equivalent of churros.
Yeah, and also if you have like a cheeseburger egg roll, something where you're appropriating 2 separate cultures and ruining them both, that is a purely American invention.
The Baja Burger.
Right, or a spaghetti taco.
For some reason, I have a feeling you've had a sushi hamburger egg roll thing, Matthew.
I have, in fact, had cheeseburger egg rolls were a regular thing back when we had a what's the one with all the crap on the walls?
Bennigan's?
Not Shenanigans. No, it's not Shenanigans. It's not Bennigan's. It's
not Applebee's.
No, but it's like Applebee's.
Chili's.
Maybe we had one and it closed. Maybe it is a Bennigan's. I don't know, but
was it like a Senior Frogs type situation?
It was okay. So the place looked like Ted Mosby's apartment.
Oh yeah,
with like
I know
crap
what you mean.
all over exactly like that. And you go in there and you're like, I'll have a spaghetti taco and like a cheeseburger egg roll, and you get it. And it's not bad. It's neither cheeseburger nor egg roll, and it's not, it's not actually food, but you can eat it and it costs you $6.99. So I guess that's a thing.
I guess. My number 1, vanilla. Rodrigo, what is your number 1?
My number 1 is back to water-based, quote-unquote, ice creams, is lime ice cream. Lime ice cream is really good. I've always loved it ever since I was a little kid. apocryphally, when I had my tonsils taken out, there at the hospital, they had some ice cream. You're supposed to have ice cream or something like that to help with the swelling. And they had like chocolate or vanilla or something. And my parents were like, hey, you get to have ice cream now that you went to the surgery or whatever. And I was like, I want lime ice cream. And my parents were like, all right, well, I guess we're going to have to go out and find lime ice cream for you.
Aww.
So luckily it's Mexico. So they probably just went directly outside to like a park across the street from the hospital. And there were 4 guys on bicycles that could get them some. So it's, it's like that guy and the guy who just like has like a, what I want to say, like a whetstone wheel. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Just like a guy on a bike and there's like a giant wheel and he like sharpens your knives for you.
Sharpens your knives for you?
Yeah, exactly.
I know that guy.
Like knives and scissors. Yeah. There's like those guys just hang out together all day, just going around the neighborhood.
Yep.
That's how you know the ice cream man is coming, because you can hear the knife guy's stone. You're like, oh, it's like that. It's like the most exciting motorcycle gang to hear. Get your knife sharpened, get some ice cream, and then get like some corn with mayonnaise and a bunch of chili.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. A nice elote would be good.
Yeah. So anyway, after that trip down memory lane, lime ice cream is my number one.
Yeah. Yeah, we had lots of memories this week. And
lime ice cream.
You've never had it?
No, I've had lime sherbet, and I've had like frozen fruit, like lime bars that are like supposedly lime.
So it's gonna taste like those lime bars, and really it's more like a sherbet than anything else. But I feel that lime. I feel like recently we talked about this, where I think that the optimal float, rather than root beer and vanilla ice cream, is actually Coca-Cola and lime ice cream, or lime ice, essentially.
Lime in the
yeah. So for those of you that listen to Top 5 and had gone out and hunted down, tamarind Jarritos and hibiscus water, here's your next one. Get yourself a Mexican Coke, some lime ice, and make a float out of it.
Don't forget the big avocados.
Yes, definitely the big avocados that are smooth, and you'll thank me later.
There you go. All right, everybody. That wraps it up for this installment of Top 5. As I said, the topic came from our Discord server, and here's the thing that you ought to do. Check out the show notes. There's a link. You click on that. It'll take you right over to Discord if you've got the Discord app, or if you're on a website, it'll open up the website. Sign in to the Major Spoilers Discord channel or server, and then go down to the Top 5 channel, and you can see everybody talking about what do we got here? Top 5 documentaries that Carl is posting in there. We've got people who put in their top 5 their rom-com movies that are in there. People are talking and commenting about our top 5s. They're talking and commenting about their top 5s. They certainly want to comment about your top 5. Why? Because everybody loves a list.
This podcast is copyright 2020 by Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC.